Hey guys, Paul here. Have you ever heard of the saying opposites attract? This idea that the person who are totally different are attracted to one another. So if you are shy and quiet, your best friend's going to be that loud person. Or if you are someone who loves sport, you'll spend all the time with people who love art. If you're anything like me, you're probably getting a little bit puzzled by this. That just doesn't happen in real life, does it? If you were to take a minute and think about all the people you hang out with most, you'd probably realise your friends, your family, boyfriend, girlfriend is more like you than not like you. You will have similar interests. The things that you will be the same, your hobbies. I'm not saying you're going to be exactly the same, but you'll be similar. And I'm pretty sure you won't be the total opposite of one another. The truth is, we like people who see the world as we see the world. It's what we have in common, not our differences, that seem to make a great relationship. Some people might even say that the more you have in common, the stronger the relationship will be. And that's because having things in common often leads to connection, and it allows us to feel more comfortable. But here's the issue. We are surrounded by people who are nothing like us. In our schools, in our teams, down our street, our family, even church. The environment you're in, both physically and digitally, are full of people who are completely different from you. And these people have different thoughts, perspectives and ideas about the way things should be done and the way we should live our lives. And you only need to look around the world or on social media and we can come to this conclusion that our world seems more divided than ever. Everyone has their opinion, no one agrees. Yet when people don't like an opinion, we live in a culture that tries to cancel them. And people have an opinion on everything. Who's the best football team? Andrew Tate, the best Netflix show, clothes, relationships. People really care about some of these things. And not just those things, but any hot topic going on in the world right now causes debate. In a polarized world, unity can feel impossible. There are too many opinions and too many divisions. So is unity even possible? Is that what we need to strive for? And is there anything we can do to make a difference? Well, let's talk about it. Last week, we looked at how Jesus used the tradition of the Passover meal to help his followers remember all he had done for them. Many now call this the Last Supper because it was the last time Jesus had dinner with his disciples before he was crucified. And after Jesus and the disciples finished the meal, they went to the Garden of Gethsemane, a place you can still visit in Israel today, where Jesus spent some time praying. And thinking about this for a minute, if you could pray for anything right now, what would it be? But if you were to pray a final prayer near the end of your life, what would you pray for then? If you had to pray for one thing before you go, what would it be? Isn't that a tougher question? My question is that what you would pray for right now isn't necessarily the same as what you'd pray for at the end of your life. Why? Because when it's at the end, there's a greater sense of urgency. Because time is short and our words matter more. At the end of our lives, money, phones, holidays, exams, they just hit different, wouldn't they? The stakes are so much higher as it moves away from things that don't matter quite as much as life and death. Wouldn't it be interesting to know what Jesus' last prayer would be? Thankfully, we know. John, one of Jesus' friends, recorded it. It says this: I'm praying not only for the disciples, but for all those who believe in me through their message. Jesus prays for his disciples and all who ever believe. That's people like us. In his last moments, Jesus prayed for those who would follow him personally. And that just blows my mind. But look at what he prayed for then. I'm praying not only for these disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me through their message. I pray that they will be one, just as you and I are one. As you are in me, Father, and I am in you. And may they believe in us so that the world will believe you sent me. I have given them the glory you gave me, so they may be one as we are one. I am in them and you are in me. May they experience such perfect unity that the world will know that you sent me and that you love them as much as you love me. Jesus prayed for his disciples and anyone who would choose to follow him to be one. In the final prayer, he prayed that his followers would be unified. Of all the things Jesus could have prayed for, it was this. Not that the church would be able to win every single argument, nor that they would have loads of money. He prayed for us to be united. And being united means to be for each other, to work with each other, to encourage each other and fight for each other and pray for each other no matter how different we are. Why is that kind of unity such a big deal? Well, you only need to look at a football team when they have one or two players who are causing problems and the whole team seems to be worse for it. Like this unity can affect teams, groups, families and the church. And over time, the church got a lot bigger. So imagine how many more opportunities there were for disagreements. And we all know how differences can make and create things to be really difficult. And even in ancient times, things like arguing, bickering and gossiping, like things that can really destroy a group. Things can make a group unattractive. And no one wants to be part of a group known for frustration, arguments and division. But I think it's even more than that. And I want to clarify, unity doesn't mean we agree on everything all of the time. Differences and diversity make us stronger. But unity does mean we seek to move forward towards together. It means we keep our focus on what matters most, even when we're still working out the rest. Think about it this way. Going to a football game and seeing all the fans expectant and excited for what they're going to see, whatever team you support, being a part of a crowd, win or lose or draw can be a special occasion. Or what about when you go to a concert and everyone is buzzing, singing along, everyone is unified by the music they are listening to? Alternatively, what about the moments when players on the same team start fighting with one another? How much more frustrating is it that when people on the same team aren't working together? Or how about when none of the fans turn up because they're unhappy with what's going on and how that affects the team playing? Just like you, other people want to be in environments that show unity. Look at something Jesus said one more time. May they experience such perfect unity that the world will know that you sent me and that you love them as much as you love me. Jesus is saying the way we treat each other will affect what people believe about him. Our unity will make Jesus' message more believable, and our disunity will potentially do the opposite. Unity doesn't mean we agree on everything all of the time. Differences and diversity make us stronger, but unity does mean we seek to keep moving forward together. It means we keep our focus on what really matters, even when we're still working on the rest. That's a huge responsibility for those of us who follow Jesus, because we all have people we care about, people we go to school with, people on our teams or people in our family who don't know Jesus. And our unity or disunity can affect not only whether they come to church, but also what they believe about God. When you think about it that way, unity becomes such a much bigger deal. In how we love and treat one another, our unity becomes a way for the world to see God. And that must lead us to this question. How do we become more unified? In a world that focuses more on what makes us different, how can we focus on the things that can bring us together? Maybe that feels overwhelming. Everywhere you look highlights your differences, but choosing to focus on your similarities and making them the most important thing to help unify you, that might sound crazy, because who else does that? But that's kind of the point. Jesus never said being his follower is going to be easy or make you popular. What we see from Jesus' prayer is our job as followers of Jesus to learn how to embrace our differences and stay united in the biggest thing that matters, our love for Jesus. If we have that in common, all other differences don't seem to cause disunity. And guess whose responsibility it is to promote and protect the unity in this group? It's not the person next to you, it's yours and it's mine. We're responsible for our own contribution to the unity of the church. And this is good because that gives us a lot of control, which means a lot of responsibility. And you can't help what everyone else does, but you can help with what you do. The reality is this: unity begins with you. And oftentimes, for unity to work and get the attention of those around you, you will have to make the first move. You'll have to be the one who says hi first, or sit down by a different person, or be the one who's welcoming the new person. This is difficult because we always want someone else to make the first move, but the reality is it begins with us. So much is riding on this. I think that's why Jesus prayed it for us at the very end of his life. He knew how difficult it would be. He knew that we'd all have a million excuses why we shouldn't love and treat each other well. He knew that our tendency would always be to let our differences divide us. But if we're going to accomplish the mission Jesus gave us, we must have unity. And soon after Jesus left, the church started changing the world, like big time. Like no one had ever seen people who were so different standing together. It was a diverse and different group of people worshipping together and taking care of one another. They'd never seen a group so committed to working together to take care of those around them like this. And the unity of the early church changed the first century world, which allowed the message of Jesus to change the world too. Just imagine if it could also change your school. Imagine it could change your family. Imagine if it could change our town. Like, how could you today be working towards unity? How could you pursue unity this week with our small groups? Or how could you forgive? Or how could you celebrate? Or who could you spend time with who may be different to you? Remember, this isn't just a nice thing to do. Unity is essential to accomplishing any goal, and unity has to come from a genuine place. Jesus wanted to make sure that he left his disciples knew that it was vital for the church to influence and change the world. And that's why it's so important to remember that unity begins with you.